Just hours after a gunman opened fire during an Independence Day parade in a Chicago suburb, Illinois State Senator Darren Bailey, a Republican, called for people to move on, celebrate. It's 4th of July.
About 20 minutes away from here in Highland Park, there was a shooting. There were several people that we know have been shot. That's all we know. And we're just going to take a moment and pray for the families. Friends, let's pray for the law enforcement and even the organizers of this parade. They've done an amazing job. There's a lot of confusion and frustration that the parade's being canceled, but they did the right thing because people's safety has got to come first. The shooter is still at large, so let's pray for justice to prevail. And then let's move on and let's celebrate the independence of this nation.
There it is. There it is. Celebrate. Yes. Celebrate. Wow. I gotta ask. Celebrate what? What are we celebrating here? What is there to celebrate?
Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
That's their message for everything other than thoughts and prayers. We got thoughts and prayers for you. We got a whole truckload of thoughts and prayers ready for the victims. But by the way, hey, let's go light off some fireworks now. Really? And you don't think all the explosions and the popping of the fireworks are going to be confused with guns, with gunshots? So, and by the way, the people that survived that, they're never going to ever have a good 4th of July again. Because what's the first thing they're going to think of whenever Independence Day comes around? They're going to think about this. All right? They're going to hear those fireworks and be thrown right back into the day where they almost died and where 6 people were killed. So, look, he also said this: bless us and protect us as we go about our day celebrating the most amazing country. The most amazing country. How are we amazing? How's it amazing in the United States right now? Rights are being stripped away from women, anyone with a uterus. And regular people are getting gunned down in the streets by mass shooters. Look, we're the only country in the world that has this problem, and it's not like we don't know how to solve it. It's just the people in power refuse to solve it. Like this guy. This guy is a Republican politician. And guess what? Big shocker. He's in favor of more guns, guns for all. In fact, he had pushed back against Illinois and their gun control laws. So they have actually something called a firearm owner's ID. So you're supposed to have it. It's a legal requirement for you to have and present if you want to buy a gun and ammunition in Illinois. You know what he called that law? An attack on our Second Amendment rights. He said this, and this is on his website: there is no question the FOID card is an outdated requirement in a broken system, and gun owners are being punished for it. Democrats need to stop finding reckless ways to constantly regulate our state's residents and void the FOID completely. So just get rid of it. Get rid of it. That's what he says. Meaning, of course, we're going to go back to where you don't actually have to present any sort of identification or, go through any background checks or anything like that in order to get a gun. Now, in 2020, by the way, Bailey's team also held a fundraiser, like a lot of Republicans, that, featured a raffle for a semi-automatic rifle. Because of course he did. That's what this guy is. Against gun control measures, and very, very pro-gun. And you can see that in his statements, he never references the guns, but just mentions things like mental health and thoughts and prayers. In fact, here is what he told Vice News. Bailey's spokesperson sent out a statement saying, quote, "I apologize if in any way we diminished the pain being felt across our state today. I am heartbroken by today's tragic events and the pain and loss felt by so many. My intent was to pray for the victims and those affected by today's tragedy, and for the shooter to be caught and prosecuted without further loss. I hope we can all come together in prayer and action to address rampant crime and mental health issues to make sure these horrific tragedies don't happen again." Nothing about the guns. Nothing about the guns. Just, it's crime. Oh, mental health. Thoughts and prayers. That's all we can do. Thoughts and prayers. I got news for you. Prayer hasn't been working. Doesn't do a goddamn thing, literally. As for mental health, don't buy the bullshit. Republicans don't actually care about that either. Because they never, ever, ever actually fund mental health services. And in fact, what they do is keep people from seeking mental health help. It is easier in this country to get a high-powered weapon than to see a psychiatrist. I mean, you want to talk about waiting lists? Try to see somebody for mental health issues, okay? You're going to get put on a waiting list, and that's if you're lucky enough to have insurance to be able to pay for it. But, guns, no waiting list, instant. Hey, you can walk into certain gun shops or to a gun show, pick up a gun and ammo that day. But again, if you want to get any sort of mental health treatment, you got to call, you got to make an appointment. Maybe you'll get put on a waiting list, very, very long, in many cases, just to try and get some help. Well, that's what happens. I mean, under Republican right-wing rule. But it also gets worse, too, because the toxicity in the right-wing movement also deters people who might actually have the means to go and get mental health. Look, among right-wing men, there is this, again, toxic masculinity. Not to be confused with actual masculinity, which isn't toxic at all. But there's the toxic one, where basically you have guns, which are seen as manly. So the more guns you have, the manlier you are to them. Whereas if you actually are suffering problems and you actually have emotions and you need someone to help you deal with them, talk them out, try to help you figure out ways and strategies of being able to cope with these emotions or depression or PTSD, etc. Any of that, well, that's something that weak beta males do, because real strong manly men don't have any emotions. Only rage and horniness. That's all they're allowed. All they're allowed. And by the way, you're not supposed to act in the horny. You're just supposed to be enraged 24/7. That's toxicity. That's toxicity. And so, I wonder what happens when you have people that are in that atmosphere who are insecure. Right-wing men, young right-wing men especially, who are facing, again, challenges. What do you think they're going to do? What do you think that's going to make them choose? Healthcare, mental health care, or guns? I think we know the answer to that because we have been seeing it play out several times a week.